Hey everyone. As of late, I've been working on this for a while now, and I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to explain all this. So, for us dirt track drivers, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but I have noticed that, people do tend to get a little loose and a little less controlled when they're running on these circuits when they break down. So, this is what I'm going to teach you today. This will help you guys figure out how you want to do this from now. But first, I'm going to show you this real quick. I want you just to watch this icon right here, and I want you to watch how much my wheel turns when I'm in the turn and when I'm halfway coming out and how straight it comes out. I'm going to teach you why that is in a minute. These first few laps I don't really do too much. I kind of keep it stable, but you can see right there already like how I was coming into the turn. All it really is that what I'm doing with these turns is I'm just trying to keep that wheel as straight as possible, and there's a way to do it, and I'm going to show you guys here in just a minute. But the main thing is when you're running on dirt, every track, it's always the same thing. Even with asphalt, all you're wanting to do is just maintain stability and find the way to keep that wheel straight as can be. So how do we get around that? How do we fix that? Well, as you can see just from what I'm doing, I'm just following the same line, same pattern, and that's how I get around that. But when they break down and you have to get into the slick, the rubber, how do you challenge that? How do you manage that? And that's what I'm going to explain right here, right now. So if you see closely how my wheel is, how straight it is, I'm not moving it too much, and it's staying stable, which allows me to keep a full throttle assault through it. So here's what I'm going to show you now. This is going to kind of surprise a few of you, but now here's what you need to know. If you go into chassis, ignore everything on this toe-in stuff and everything here and there. The only two things I want you guys to learn from this video is steering ratio and steering offset. Now, on every track, I almost run the exact same thing to start. Steering ratio 4:1. That's as low as we can go. That's the best we can go. What does that do? It shows you right here. Degrees of steering wheel ratio rotation to give 1 degree of front wheel steer angle. Higher ratio equals slow response, less twitchy, harder to catch slides with counter steering though. What that means is you want to have it as low as possible so you're able to keep the counter steering away from oversteering. So basically, say like when we get the slick out and the car swings to the right, once it starts swinging right, you can't control that as much and it won't have the same reaction time. So a good example of this would be right here when I'm coming into the turn. If I've got those right sides literally spinning to the right too much and that front end can't grab again. The main thing is always trying to grab the surface and trying to grab what you can to keep the wheel straight and keep the car in line for a strong exit. A perfect entry is one thing, but a strong exit to me is the main thing when you're dirt track racing anytime, anywhere, because it really will help you give the most momentum and the most control. So how do we fix that and how do we do that? Well, it's plain simple. All you need to do is like I said, when you're on any track, and I always recommend for any dirt track really when you're in dirt stocks, at least for now, always set it to 4:1. Because this steering offset right now is what you guys will need to understand how to maintain and grab the track better. Like I said, we're not worried about brake pressure. We're not worried about all this stuff down here. I just want you guys to know how these work because we're doing fixed setups. And fixed setups always, when you run them on official races, are key to winning. Set the steering ratio to 4:1. That's always my recommendation. People may say otherwise, but the steering offset to me is where you fix everything up. Higher if it's less degrees, so say like I set it from -2, and let's say we want to put it to, I don't know, maybe -10. What that's going to do is, and I'm going to show you here in a minute, is what it does is it basically sets the wheel more to the left so you don't have to turn it as far to the right. So I'll show you. Now you see what -2 did. But look at what -10's doing. I have to turn this thing more to the right. I have to turn it more to the left, I should say, because it's turning more to the right. The reason that is because when you're on the track, you want to try to keep that wheel as straight as possible. So when they're burnt down, they're not burnt yet, but when they're burnt in, you're really going to want to try to hold that line as straight as you can. And having it swayed more to the left allows you to keep that front wheel to the right more. So when so let's say I spun out right here, that means that can straighten itself back up right there, and the wheel keeps you straight in line for a strong exit, allowing you to traverse the slick. And yes, that is my wheel. So the main thing I want you to take away from that, even though I was driving with one hand, is that when you're on the slick, set your steering ratio to as low as you can and get that steering offset to the right amount. I would say your baseline will be around 6 to 10. 6 being fresh, to where it'll break, but it'll break down, and then 10 being okay, we're getting kind of there, but it's not quite burnt in yet, to where I could still hold it and control it. Always, when you're dirt track racing, I always say this right now: set up a long run track. It's because no matter how many laps you got, no matter how much you got on there, depending on how much you're going to burn up, the track is going to burn up quick, and it's going to burn up hard with as many cars we have on there. So set your offset. In my opinion, set the offset from either 10 to 20 when you're doing our races here, at least. And then you're doing others, you may have to do more, but 10 to 20 is the baseline of where you want to be at. It's the most consistent area you're going to have. It's going to feel weird at first because, unfortunately, like I said, it's not something you're used to right away, and you're swaying it more to the left than you are keeping it straight than you usually would on the straightaways. But let me tell you, when you run on burnt tracks, that offset is your saving grace on fixed setups, because you have to learn how to hold the line to the outside and the inside and the middle, and especially where the burnt is, because you're going to have to get into the burns sooner or later. So like I said, if anything, when you run our races and stuff, no matter what track we go to, I always recommend doing steering ratio at 4 to 1. 6 to 1 for some others may think that's better. That's up to you. It's all personal preference. But the steering offset, tinker with that a lot, as much as you can. Like I said, at start for qualifying, maybe around a 4 to 6. That would be my thing. But in race, I would set it higher. Set it to where it's going to be a long run that's going to feel good for you. So again, practice those burnt setups, practice those burned areas on the track, because that's what's going to help you figure out how to set that steering offset to the best of your abilities. I hope this video helps. If you guys have further questions, let me know. It's about all I can really say. I've been kind of ranting on for a minute or two. So once again, thanks for everybody that tunes in to race with us and still hanging around. Next season should be even better. It should be even stronger. So hopefully we can get some fun out of this one. But for now, guys, that's currently going to be about it. Thanks again. Hope this video helps a little bit.